name is Andre 3000, and I'm going to tell you my story, from the start to where we are right now.
He was one of the best rappers alive, and then he vanished. No scandal, no farewell, just Andre 3000, walking away from the mic.
Even just the origin of the word hip hop. First, you have to be hip, and the older you get further away from the hipness.
And then showing up years later playing a flute in an airport and wearing a piano to the Met Gala. In a culture addicted to clout, he chose silence. In an era chasing fame, he became free. But why did he really disappear? And what does his return without rap mean for hip-hop today? This is the haunting story of the genius who left greatness behind and still changed the game forever. In a culture built on visibility, Andre 3000 became more powerful by disappearing. This is the paradox that defines him. One of the most brilliant minds hip-hop has ever known, Andre 3000 reimagined what Southern rap could be. As half of OutKast, he helped move Atlanta into the global spotlight. Their albums, ATLiens, Aquemini, Stankonia, and the double platinum speaker box The Love Below weren't just hits, they were revolutions. Andre didn't just rap, he sculpted ideas out of language, voice, and fashion. He was fearless, flamboyant, and poetic, and impossible to pin down. But even as his legend grew, so did his discomfort with fame. Andre began retreating from public life, not because he had nothing left to say, but because the world was demanding he say something he no longer believed in. The man who once lit up stages with otherworldly charisma now preferred silence. He stopped rapping, he turned inward, and when he finally returned with music in 2023's New Blue Sun, it wasn't a rap album, it was a wordless, flute-driven meditation on presence, breath, and peace. Then came 2024 in what many assumed would be another absence. Andre 3000 arrived at the Met Gala wearing a sculptural outfit embedded with a working piano.
I need to know everything about this look.
It's just a piano.
It's just a piano.
Yeah.
But it's like, is it a real, this is what I'm, could you play that piano right now?
Yes, I could.
Fully functioning?
Yes.
And is it heavy?
No.
He wasn't just making a fashion statement, he had become the instrument. The same day, he released 7 piano sketches. No drums, no rollout, just 7 quiet, unfinished songs like diary entries left open for interpretation. Andre 3000's journey challenges everything we think we know about success. In an era obsessed with algorithms, content, and endless visibility, he chose stillness. He chose honesty. He chose himself. His absence became louder than most artists' presence, and in doing so, he became something far more rare than famous. He became free. This isn't just about Andre 3000's music, it's about his decision to step away and what that decision tells us about art, identity, and the unbearable weight of genius. What do we make of an icon who no longer wants to be seen? Why do we still wait for bars that may never come? This is Andre 3000, hip-hop's disappearing genius. Andre Lauren Benjamin was born on May 27, 1975 in Atlanta, Georgia, during a period of cultural transition in the South. Atlanta was establishing itself as the capital of Black excellence with its historically Black colleges and a rising Black middle class. However, beneath that hopeful sheen was a city still marked by segregation, redlining, and the cycles of poverty that disproportionately affected its Black population. Andre was raised in East Point, a modest suburb in the metro area, by his single mother, Sharon Benjamin Hodo, who worked in real estate. His father, Lawrence Walker, was largely absent. He absorbed everything: cartoons, jazz, comics, skateboarding, culture, and the funking stylings of Prince, George Clinton, and Michael Jackson. Unlike many of his peers who were drawn to sports or street culture, Andre was fascinated by style, surrealism, and music that bent genres. These formative years planted the seed of his uniqueness and originality. He attended Tri-Cities High School, which is an arts magnet school in East Point, where his imagination was nurtured. It was here that he met Antoine Pattern, better known as Big Boy. The two teens bonded instantly over music, especially hip-hop, which was then beginning to diversify beyond its East and West Coast strongholds. While Big Boy was streetwise and gritty, Andre was poetic and cerebral.
It was just like saying, like, from the surface, like, I mean, Dre is totally different from Big Boy. Big Boy is totally different from Dre. How can they stay together and do this music? I mean, but you got to think, man, I mean, what make Kool-Aid so good, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got the packet that's sour as hell. You know what I'm saying? Then you got that sweet sugar. And it's totally opposite, but hey,
when you put it together,
hey, it be on.
Good to go with,
it be on.
With a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
It was a classic case of opposites attracting, and together they began writing rhymes, skipping class to hang out, and forming the earliest version of what would become OutKast. The duo's early demos eventually reached the ears of Rico Wade, Sleepy Brown, and Ray Murray, the production trio known as Organized Noise. These producers operated out of a musky subterranean studio nicknamed The Dungeon, located in Rico Wade's mother's basement.
In the dungeon, right? You know what I'm saying?
But a chicken wing.
We got tired of folks rolling things in the street, so we decided that we had a love for this music thing. So we saw young brothers like Big Boy and Dre. They came to us, you know what I'm saying? And they was like, they had skill. They like, we want a bus. There we go.
The Dungeon family, as it would become known, was a tight-knit collective of Southern artists who would soon transform the sound of hip-hop forever. Through this environment, Andre's creativity was given structure. He learned how to channel his chaotic brilliance into crafted songs and conceptual ideas.
Andre 3000, I mean, yeah. That was one of the artists that showed me that hip-hop doesn't have to be so one-dimensional, that you can wear what you want to wear, you can smile, you can have fun, you can use influences like funk and jazz and rock and put it into hip-hop and still be one of the baddest motherfuckers to rhyme and make a, you know what I'm saying, like really spit something.
Long before the world called him a genius, Andre was busy building a world of his own, and that world didn't always need to be seen to exist. In 1992, while still in their teens, Andre and Big Boy were signed to LaFace Records by L.A. Reid and Babyface. At the time, LaFace was best known for R&B acts like TLC and Toni Braxton. Rap wasn't his focus, but the duo's potential was undeniable. They chose the name OutKast, a synonym for outsider, perfectly capturing their identity as creative misfits. Their debut album, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, dropped in 1994 and was unlike anything on the national rap scene.
Along with that quad lock, no, my heart don't pump no Kool-Aid. Shopping, you'll get too sprayed.
Rooted in thick bass lines, soulful horns, and Southern slang, the album celebrated Atlanta's car culture, fashion, and vernacular, while subtly offering deeper commentary on race, poverty, and social decay. It was equal parts party and protest. The project was a hit in the South, but it struggled to gain national recognition. That changed at the 1995 Source Awards when OutKast won Best New Artist. As they walked on stage, the New York crowd booed loudly, still entrenched in East Coast-West Coast rivalry. In response, a young Andre barely 20, stepped to the mic and delivered the now legendary statement, "The South got something to say."
But it's like this though, I'm tired of folks, you know what I'm saying? Them closed-minded folks, you know what I'm saying? It's like we got a demo tape and nobody want to hear it, but it's like this, the South got something to say. That's all I got to say.
It was more than a rebuttal. It was a warning. OutKast and Southern rap was about to change everything. Their next album, AT-Aliens, in 1996 showed immediate evolution. The production was eerie and stripped of traditional samples. Andre had gone from a dope MC to something closer to a mystic. AT-Aliens wasn't just a sophomore album, it was a manifesto. But the group didn't want to compete with the East or the West. They wanted to create their own universe. The media began paying attention. Fans started noticing Andre's voice getting sharper, stranger, and more daring. While Big Boy remained grounded in street tales and Southern funk, Andre was ascending into something harder to categorize. By the time Aquemini dropped in 1998, OutKast was at their creative peak. The album fused the live instrumentation, jazz, rock, gospel, and storytelling in ways that pushed the boundaries of what rap could be. Andre's lyrics were both accessible and poetic. He wasn't just rhyming, he was interrogating identity, politics, spirituality, and self-worth. And yet, even with all this experimentation, OutKast was selling millions of records and earning critical acclaim. They had cracked the formula. Be strange, be true, and be excellent. Andre 3000 was now seen not only as a rapper, but as an auteur. He dressed like a 1970s rock god, spoke like a professor, and wrote verses that felt like short stories. But with that newfound power came a new kind of pressure, one that would eventually push him away from the microphone. By the late 1990s, OutKast was no longer just a Southern rap group. They were a cultural force. Their 1998 masterpiece, Aquemini, cemented their reputation as risk-takers. The album was sonically rich, emotionally complex, and lyrically profound. It didn't just speak for Atlanta, it spoke for alienated artists everywhere who were tired of binaries and genre boundaries. And at the center of it all stood Andre 3000.
She stays alone, never sheds a single tear. Are y'all with me? Yeah. She stays in the coolest foods. Yeah, clearly, woman of the year.
Increasingly seen as the spiritual and stylistic driver of the group. With each release, Andre was shedding the expectations of traditional rap. He grew more daring with his image, blonde wigs, turbans, shoulder pads, and velvet suits. His voice evolved too. No longer just spitting bars, he was singing hooks, distorting cadences, experimenting with pitch. While Big Boy held down the street anthems, Andre was veering into philosophical territory, and together they struck a rare balance between the concrete and the cosmic. Stankonia exploded their popularity. Released just weeks after 9/11, it was as chaotic and hopeful as the world it entered. The album's lead single, Bombs Over Baghdad, was a frenetic mix of gospel, drum and bass, and apocalyptic imagery. It was like anything else on the radio, and it worked. The album's other singles, Miss Jackson and So Fresh So Clean, were more accessible, but no less inventive. Andre's emotional vulnerability on Miss Jackson, inspired by his breakup with Erykah Badu and his relationship with her mother, became a crossover hit.
I hope we feel like this forever, 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 ever, forever, ever.
It won a Grammy and introduced millions to Andre's ability to turn heartbreak into pop art. What defined this golden era was Andre's dual commitment to honesty and innovation. He didn't just want to impress audiences, he wanted to challenge them. He was constantly searching for new ways to express himself, even if it meant alienating purists. He wasn't afraid to be strange. In fact, he seemed to thrive on it. During this period, Andre also began exploring other mediums. He took acting roles in films like Hollywood Homicide and Be Cool. He voiced characters on animated shows and started designing clothing. But the deeper he dove into these other forms of expression, more distance he grew from hip-hop. It wasn't burnout. It wasn't transformation. Andre wasn't just evolving, he was preparing to leave. By the time the group started working on their next project, it was clear that Andre 3000 no longer wanted to be confined by the framework of a traditional rap group. The result would become some of the most ambitious experiments in hip-hop history. In 2003, OutKast released Speakerboxxx The Love Below, a double album that functioned as two solo projects, Big Boy's Speakerboxxx, rooted in funks and southern rap, and Andre 3000's The Love Below, a genre-bending odyssey of jazz, funk, soul pop, and heartbreak. It was a bold statement, not just musically, but conceptually. The album allowed each member to fully explore their divergent artistic paths without breaking up the group. Andre's The Love Below was especially groundbreaking. The album saw him abandon rapping almost entirely in favor of singing. Songs like Prototype, She's Alive, and Pink and Blue explored love, death, and masculinity through surreal lyricism and theatrical arrangement. He channeled Prince, Frank Zappa, Joni Mitchell, and George Clinton, filtering them through his own prism of romantic confusion and spiritual yearning. The album's lead single, Hey Ya, was a global phenomenon. With its infectious energy and retro vibe, the track topped charts worldwide. But beneath the upbeat claps and sing-along chorus was a heartbreaking truth. Y'all don't want to hear me. You just want to dance. Andre was both critiquing the audience and lamenting his own emotional alienation. He had created the perfect pop song, but at what cost? Critics hailed The Love Below as a masterpiece. It won the Grammy for Album of the Year, making OutKast the first hip-hop act to receive that honor.
Fans, most definitely. For staying down since our first album, Southern Player Listening, when people thought our first album was Stankonia. Stankonia is not OutKast's first album due to history.
But even as the accolades poured in, Andre grew more reclusive. He did few interviews, he rarely performed, and unlike Big Boy, who followed up with solo albums, Andre seemed to vanish. The success of The Love Below, ironically, marked the beginning of his retreat. For Andre, the project had been a cathartic purge, a way to express pain, loneliness, and artistic suffocation. He pushed himself into new territory, and now there was nothing and nowhere else to go. He later admitted that the success made him uncomfortable. He didn't want to become a pop star. He wanted to disappear into the art. In interviews, he described the pressure as suffocating. Fans wanted more albums, labels wanted more hits, and the media wanted more access. But Andre felt drained. He didn't want to perform a version of himself that no longer felt real. And so at the height of his success, he began to pull back. Not in protest, but in self-preservation. Andre 3000 had created one of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful albums in hip-hop history, and then, instead of capitalizing on that moment, he walked away.
Well, really, I don't see us like rapping for like when we get really old, because it comes to a point in time where you have to say, man, you got to chill out, man, you know. But you can make music forever, though. I mean, you can be 80 years old on the beat machine. If it's jamming, it's jamming.
In 2023, Andre 3000 released New Blue Sun, an ambient flute-centered album that stunned fans and critics alike. Unlike his hip-hop work, New Blue Sun contains no rapping or traditional song structures. Instead, it's a meditative exploration of sound, silence, and mood. The album reflects Andre's decades-long journey toward peace and authenticity. The flute, an instrument he's played for years, becomes his voice, a pure, breathy expression free from words or beats. New Blue Sun evokes imagery of nature, spirituality, and introspection. For many, the album was a departure too far from expectations. Some longed for the lyrical Andre 3000. They remembered. Others embraced it as the natural evolution of a restless creative spirit. Beyond music, New Blue Sun symbolizes Andre's commitment to self-care and artistic freedom. It's a statement that art doesn't need to be commercial or conformist to be meaningful. In this sense, the album is a radical act of vulnerability and defiance. In May 2024, Andre 3000 once again startled the world, but not with music, but with an image. He appeared at the Met Gala for the first time in over a decade, amid a sea of celebrities clad in feathers, sequins, and excess. Andre arrived wearing a piano, not figuratively, a literal wearable piano. His custom ensemble, designed in collaboration with avant-garde artists and engineers, featured a sculptural chess piece that incorporated actual piano. The instrument was fully functional. He could and reportedly did play it. Part clothing, part sculpture, part performance art. Where other attendees used the gala to scream opulence, Andre used it to whisper genius. The look was minimalist in color, matte, black, and slate gray, but maximalist in symbolism. A walking piano on the red carpet of the most watched fashion event in the world? That wasn't just fashion, it was a statement. He didn't smile for the cameras, he didn't pose theatrically, he simply stood quiet and still, like a sculpture placed in a room full of fireworks. In that moment, it became clear. Andre 3000 had transformed himself into the very instrument he now used to express his truth. No longer a rapper holding a mic, but a man who had become the music itself. That same day, he released 7 piano sketches. As with New Blue Sun, it arrived without warning, marketing, or fanfare. This time, the flute was replaced by sparse, contemplative piano. 7 improvised compositions, raw and imperfect, filled with space and searching. There were no lyrics, no beats, just keys, pauses, and atmosphere. For those who had followed Andre's journey, this project felt like a continuation of his new artistic language, wordless, vulnerable, and free. Together, the Met Gala, piano, and the 7 piano sketches release formed a new chapter in Andre's mythos. He had become a kind of anti-celebrity, refusing virality, rejecting capitalism's grind, choosing introspection over performance, and yet, ironically, those choices only deepened his cultural impact. Andre wasn't just stepping outside the rap game, no, he was deconstructing fame itself. He blurred the line between music, performance, fashion, and meditation. By literally wearing a piano and then releasing an album of piano sketches, he reminded the world that creativity isn't always loud. Sometimes genius is soft. Sometimes it hums. Sometimes it walks into a room silently, wearing itself like armor. Though Andre 3000's solo output has been sparse since the mid-2000s, his influence echoes throughout modern hip-hop and beyond. Artists across genres cite him as a foundational inspiration. Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole to Tyler the Creator and Frank Ocean. His willingness to blend genres, embrace vulnerability, and experiment with identity helped expand the very definition of what hip-hop could be. Kendrick Lamar's intricate storytelling and jazz-infused beats owe a debt to Andre's boundary-pushing work on Aquemini and Stankonia.
This shit is vital. I know you had to. This shit is vital. I know you had to. Now you're in a pitiful vein. Tell me you're watching the change. It's way more believable. Give me a feasible game. Rather her seasonal name. I'll let the people know this is.
Tyler, the Creator's genre-bending androgynous style channels Andre's fearless approach to fashion and self-expression.
I wouldn't be here or up on the stage or have this silly hat or anything without the Q-Tips, the Andre 3000, the Chad Hugos.
Frank Ocean's emotional openness and narrative depth mirror the introspective spirit Andre pioneered. Andre's influence is not only musical, but also cultural. He challenged toxic masculinity, norms in hip-hop by openly discussing emotions and dressing flamboyantly. His style and persona inspired a generation to embrace complexity rather than conform to stereotypes. His legacy also extends into the business and artistic models he helped pioneer, embracing creative control, collaboration, and artistic risk-taking. Many modern artists owe their freedom to experiment with the path Andre helped clear. In this way, Andre 3000's absence has become a powerful presence. His silence invites others to fill the space with innovation, creating a legacy that continually evolves.
If the South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
Andre 3000's career redefines what success means in hip-hop. In an industry obsessed with charts, streaming numbers, and social media clout, Andre took a different path, one that values authenticity, peace, and artistic exploration over commercial output. His retreat challenges the notion that artists must continually and constantly produce or perform to be relevant. Instead, Andre models a form of success rooted in self-awareness and integrity. He shows that it's possible to step back from the spotlight without diminishing one's impact. His choice to explore other art forms, release ambient music, and maintain privacy reframes what it means to be a creative person in the digital age. It also asks artists and audiences alike to reconsider how we measure worth and influence. Andre 3000's story is also a call to honor humanity of artists, to respect their need for growth, rest, and reinvention. It's a reminder that genius is not always loud or prolific. It can be quiet, rare, deeply personal. As hip-hop continues to evolve, Andre 3000 remains a beacon, a disappearing genius whose work and wisdom continue to inspire. His journey from groundbreaking rapper to meditative artist charts a new course, one that future generations will study and admire. So what do you think about Andre 3000? Why did he disappear? Why did he come back? Is he still relevant in hip-hop? We'd like to hear from you in the comments. Also, don't forget, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we're dropping a new one. This is Behind the Bars. I'll talk to you later. And as I always say, what it is, what it do. Don't forget, subscribe and check out my other videos.